I don't have a lot of tolerance for people like Paul Ryan or Newt Gingrich. Seriously, Newt, change your name. Or for Mitt Romney. And it's not just because I disagree with their policies and their worldviews. It's not just because I think they're liars who are continuously intellectually dishonest. It has to do with the fact that they're so conservative and Republican. You see, the Republican Party dominated American politics from the year 2000 to 2008. They shaped a great deal of my life. And I grew to realize something during those years. The first thing I realized was that I really liked politics. And the second thing I realized was that I really didn't like Republicans and conservatives. You might think that maybe this is unfair. And perhaps it is. Perhaps it is. I should specify the exact problem. And here it is. A large group of Republicans have completely, utterly ruined any decency that the once noble party once had. They have left a stain on the party that will never be fully removed. Because of this, I have an innate, and I admit, biased disdain for Republican policies and ideals. I am not just a liberal, because I believe that politics and government really is about doing well for people. But because you won't see people like the people I'm going to talk about on the liberal side. Except maybe Bill Maher. Maybe. Okay, probably. I mean, he did call Sarah Palin a cunt. I mean, I may not like Sarah Palin, but I'm not going to devolve into middle school insults. So, this is a series of discussions on how conservative thinking and actions serve to punch me in the soul and taint my view of them. It's a story about how a nice kid from New England learned to genuinely hate what a political party did. It's a story about how the right took advantage of innocent people and grabbed hold of a country for their own selfish means while blasting anybody that tried to call them out on it. It's a warning to anybody who considers themselves conservative or Republican. I say this with all honesty. Not all Republicans or conservatives are bad. They're not. But more of them need to know. This is what their leaders think, or rather thought. This is what the shapers and movers of their party were and are about. I tell you all of this to inform you, to make you think, and hopefully understand. So, let's begin with Rush Limbaugh. Allow me to quote from his radio show. "Folks, have you seen either the video or the still photo of the filmmaker being rounded up at 1:40 a.m. outside his house in Southern California? I forget the name of the town, doesn't matter. The sheriff department's taking him in, apparently on a parole violation, and of course the regime got everything they wanted out of this. They got the guy rounded up. He was wearing a cap low on his head and a towel. A bath towel around his neck and dark glasses. He did not want to be seen. He didn't want to be recognized. I looked at that, and honestly, folks, I looked at that and I said, oh my God, what has happened to our country?" Now, who was Rush Limbaugh, television and radio personality, speaking about? Well, he's the maker of an inflammatory film on Muhammad called The Innocence of Muslims, a very crude, very childish video that mocks the Prophet and Islam and Muhammad's followers, portraying them as savage baby killers hungry for wealth who are intent on killing women and children, as the BBC reported. Yeah, those are rabid Muslims, and so obviously not hack actors and bad beards and wigs. Anyway, the filmmaker put the video up on YouTube in bits and pieces, and he's something of a con artist. His real name is Nakula Basili Nakula. also known as Sam Basile, also known as Mark Basili Youssef, or Youssef M. Basili, Nicola Basili, etc., etc., etc. Now, Nicola owned a gas station, against which the California State Board of Equalization put out a lien, stating that he owed taxes, interest, and penalties that dated from 1989 to 1992. So he owed Uncle Sam a lot of money committing all this fraud. He was also arrested for attempting to make crystal meth. So he's not the most honest apple you want to hold up as the poor Joe, on a radio show. But Rush kept doing it. He also said this after talking about Obama's use of brown shirts, immediately invoking Godwin's law by comparing Obama to, of course, Hitler. We never see pictures of our government going after genuine bad guys. To me, this was chilling. This is the stuff that we have been joking about with people. But this is the kind of guy Obama is, and this is where the country's headed. There it was! We didn't even have to wait for a second term for this to happen. Oh, really? Really? Never see pictures of our government? Just, did you not see this particular picture circulating around the internet or on the television, or were the fat folds around your eyes so huge you literally were unable to... Yeah, hey, ask Bin Laden if he's better off now than he was 4 years ago. That's not the only despicable thing Rush Limbaugh has said. He had said that Obama was culpable for the outbreak of violence in the Middle East on 9/11, on the anniversary of 9/11. He's blamed the administration. Would you like to know why? Keep in mind, this is the guy that was going to make us loved. This was the president that was going to end all this rancor and argument and terrorism. A new face, a new set of policies, a new belief that the United States was itself guilty, and that we would be willing to say so. We'd be willing to apologize. Conflict Resolution 101. Look what it got us. No. Look what getting involved in a war with Iraq we didn't need to get involved in got us. Time for a quick little political quiz. Which president started the invasion of Iraq, oversaw most of its democratization, and allowed for these radical parties like the Muslim Brotherhood to take root because Saddam Hussein was no longer in power? Who wanted Ahmed Chalabi to take over Iraq and to turn it into an Australia with oil? Which president refused to plan for what would happen in a post-war Iraq? If you answered George W. Bush, congratulations, you're somewhere between a 40 and a 180 on the political IQ spectrum. Russia's about a 2. He evidently can't remember things that happened over 4 years ago, and is evidently not smart enough to realize when somebody needs to apologize for saying really stupid things. Like what Romney said in a leaked dinner video that quickly went viral. You know what he said, that there were 47% of the people of the United States who would vote for the president no matter what, who are dependent upon government, who believe that they are victims, who believe that they are, quote, entitled to health care, to food, to housing, to you name it. Now, do you want to know what these people are? He said that these are people who pay no income tax. 47% of America pays no income tax. Do you want to know why 47% of America doesn't pay taxes on their income? Because they pay through payroll taxes. That 47% he's talking about are too poor to pay income tax. I'm too poor to pay income tax. I make about $23,000 a year because I'm a janitor at a hospital. I can't even afford my own place. I can barely scrape by. I pay no income tax. I know what it's like. But Limbaugh and Romney evidently feel felt that their problem wasn't with the subject matter, but with the semantics. Especially Limbaugh. He had once said that the poor were the biggest piglets at the mother pig and her nipples, that they feed off the largesse of the government and they give nothing back. They are the givers. Who are the takers? The poor. Yep, the takers, as in what Paul Ryan likes to famously say. You might think that maybe this is very cruel of Mr. Limbaugh to be so belittling and dismissive of most people in America who are simply too poor to pay income tax, and who I'm sure would love a hand up from the government, but are too busy working the swing shift in a factory. Well, it gets better. You see, Rush Limbaugh was on the dole. He was without income once when he married, and his wife made him go and file for unemployment. He admitted this on his radio show, May 10th, 1995. He said he had a bunch of expenses he couldn't meet, and he couldn't pay his MasterCard bill because it came at a time of the month when the rent was due. He said grocery stores back then didn't take credit cards, so he was, literally, for a couple of years, going to snack food places that did take credit cards and buying junk food. So basically, he was getting fat off of McDonald's and Pringles, living off the government teat, and not working. At all. You might think that this is unfair. No, it's not. He has railed and railed about how horrible it is for people to use the system when he himself exploited it to eat junk food and lie around his house doing nothing all day. I would have thought that somebody like him would be able to understand what it's like to be so poor that you're always worrying about whether you'll have enough food to eat. But no, he doesn't. He's a big fat liar. Let's move on. Let's talk about something else. Something happier. What's next on the docket? Oh, that. Yeah, the tortures at Abu Ghraib. When the pictures first showed up, here's what Rush Limbaugh said Monday, May 3rd, 2004. And I quote, "I thought, as I've said, it looks like anything you could see at a Madonna or a Britney Spears concert." I'm pretty sure dogs attacking naked men isn't a big turn-on for Britney Spears. So the next day, Rush tried a different tack. "This is no different than what happens at the Skull and Bone initiation, and we're going to ruin people's lives over it. And we're going to hamper our military effort, and then we're going to really hammer them because they had a good time. You ever hear of emotional release? You ever hear of need to blow some steam off?" Yeah, blow some steam off. You know, from what we learned from the Taguba report on the tortures that occurred at Abu Ghraib, one great way for the guards to blow off steam was to sodomize detainees with a glow stick! A glow stick! Ugh. This guy. And when an FBI report about prisoner abuse at Guantanamo Bay got leaked to the press, would you like to know what Rush's response was? Let me read it to you. "One detainee wrapped in an Israeli flag. Some were shackled hand and foot in fetal position for 18 to 24 hours, forcing them to soil themselves. He gasped in fake horror and then said, 'I thought they did that anyway over there. This is news to me that this is news.'" Ugh. This guy. And then there's what he said about Sandra Fluke, demonstrating a different kind of tastelessness that I hadn't previously heard too much from him. Now, in case you don't know, she was that Georgetown University law student who raised a fuss by arguing that the government should grant organizations contraception protection and the like. She raised this big buzz in the news, and got the attention of Rush, who said, and I quote, "What does it say about the college co-ed Sandra Fluke, who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says, I must be paid to have sex?" It makes her a slut, right? It makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex. I can't believe this guy. Evidently, Rush seems to think that contraception is something women must always pay for to have sex, and that any woman paying for contraception is having a ton of sex, and that somehow she's making a lot of money off of all that sex. As Sandra even explained in the hearing she appeared in, contraception is used to regulate birth control and to deal with ovarian cysts, which can get life-threatening to some women. It can also keep women from having painful periods or heavy periods, which can cause them to get anemia. It's not just about protection from sex. And nobody is paying for her to have sex. Certainly not you. It's about an insurance mandate from the government covering women's health care. And it ain't your tax money that pays for it. And even if it was, that contraception coverage would eventually bring insurance rates down. Also, guess what? I may be a liberal, but I'm also a Catholic. My church does not pay taxes. This sort of thing is the very least that we can do. Because in case you've all forgotten, Jesus Christ was pretty socialistic. He said to ease the suffering of the poor and the needy, to feed the poor. He talked of giving each according to his need. Yeah, each according to his need. The motto of Marxism. That's from the Bible. You do realize that, right, Rush? Have you even read the Bible? I cannot believe this guy. I honestly can't. Everything he complains about, he himself likes to do in spades. Be it getting entitlements and breaks from the government in how he handles his own life, to I can't stand this guy. I just can't. I don't know how he's somehow managed to maintain millions of listeners. I honestly just don't understand. So, I'm going to try to address Mr. Limbaugh directly. And I hope he takes these words to heart. Mr. Limbaugh, I understand you're upset about having to pay for stuff that you don't like. So let me be the first to tell you, welcome to the freaking club. My tax dollars pay for the upkeep on the buildings you do your work in. My taxes pay to maintain the roads you drive on. My father's taxes and his father's taxes probably paid to help create the schools you went to. Everybody pays for crap they don't want all the time. So tell you what, Rush. How about the entire right wing pays me back for the money wasted on the war in Iraq and the tax cuts for the rich and all the oil subsidies that Halliburton got, and condoms are on me. No, wait. Condoms are on the house, because the house always wins. The house is my penis.